Have you ever wondered why Africa, a continent rich in natural resources, continues to struggle with poverty and underdevelopment? Today, let's dive into a less talked about but crucial aspect of this issue: the role of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The IMF and World Bank were established with noble intentions to stabilize economies and reduce poverty. But when it comes to Africa, their involvement often tells a different story. Known as the Bretton Woods institutions, these global financial entities have been accused of perpetuating a cycle of debt and dependency in African nations. First, let's talk about structural adjustment programs, or SAPs. These are economic policies imposed by the IMF and World Bank as conditions for loans. On paper, they aim to stabilize economies through austerity measures, privatization, and deregulation. However, in practice, these policies often exacerbate poverty and inequality. For instance, take Zambia. Under the pressure of SAPs, Zambia had to cut public spending drastically. This resulted in a decline in healthcare and education, affecting the most vulnerable communities. Similarly, in Ghana, the push for privatization led to job losses and increased cost of living. The promised economic growth, it never fully materialized. Another critical issue is the debt trap. African countries are often caught in a vicious cycle of borrowing to repay existing debts. High interest rates and stringent repayment terms leave little room for these nations to invest in their own development. Ethiopia, for example, spends a significant portion of its GDP on debt repayments, money that could have been used for infrastructure, education, or healthcare. Moreover, the influence of Western powers in these institutions cannot be ignored. Policies are often designed to benefit donor countries rather than the recipient nations. This neo-colonial approach ensures that African countries remain dependent on foreign aid and loans, hindering their sovereignty and long-term development. Sanctions also play a role. Countries that resist these imposed policies or seek alternative financial routes often face economic sanctions, further crippling their economies. Zimbabwe, for instance, has faced severe sanctions, limiting its ability to trade and invest in its own development. The narrative of African countries being helped by the West through these institutions needs a critical reevaluation. It's time to ask, are these financial interventions genuinely aimed at development, or are they strategic moves to keep Africa in a perpetual state of dependency? The good news is that change is possible. African nations are increasingly seeking alternative alliances and financial arrangements. Regional cooperation and partnerships with emerging economies like China are steps towards breaking free from the traditional debt dependency cycle. So the next time you hear about an IMF or World Bank loan to an African country, take a moment to consider the broader implications. Is it a lifeline or a leash? The dark truth is that the very institutions claiming to aid Africa's growth might be the ones holding it back. Let's stay informed and continue asking the tough questions. Only then can we hope for a future where Africa's potential is fully realized. In summary, the IMF and World Bank's policies often exacerbate poverty and dependency in Africa. Structural adjustment programs, debt traps, and the influence of Western powers have hindered true development. It's crucial to think critically about these financial interventions and their long-term impacts. Let's advocate for policies that genuinely support Africa's growth and sovereignty. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe to our channel, like, and share our page African Repository. Thanks for watching.